guys, welcome back to Room 237 as I continue my marathon of Italian horror and Giallo films. And this is going to be a little different because, one, I don't know much what to say about this film, and two, this is my 47th Giallo review, and it's not often I say that one is bad. I'll say it's not as good. Very, very few I've said, okay, this is actually bad. This is a contender for one of the worst ones I've seen. Not as bad as other ones I've done, but it's certainly not one I enjoyed very much. And it's 1976's Plot of Fear. And actually, from what I've read, people either love or hate this film. And it was directed by Paolo Cavera, whose name might sound familiar because he also directed Black Belly of the Tarantula, known to be one of the best Giallo films. I would have to agree with that. He's also known for doing the Mondo Cane films, which I have the first 4 of. I'll get to those at some point. I'm going to be doing more extreme films somewhere in the future, so I'll save those. But this is the Giallo he did, 1976, so it's a very late entry toward the end of the Giallo boom in the 70s. Most reviews I've read or seen, or even people I've talked to, has said this is definitely one of their least favorites or one of their worst ones. I would have to agree with them. There's a lot of elements of this that I liked. I like some of the story ideas. The back says reminiscent of Eyes Wide Shut. I can agree to that. I love Eyes Wide Shut. But nowhere near as good. Now, of course, this is by Raro Video. This is the second one I have from them. The other one being Perfume of the Lady in Black. I will be getting Body Puzzle, Play Motel, Murder Obsession, and I think a couple other ones by Raro Video. Now, it stars Corinne Clary, who is going to be a future Bond girl, Michelle Placido, Tom Skerritt, who's in it for like 5 minutes. Yeah, the same Tom Skerritt that was an Alien. And Eli Wallach, if I pronounce that correctly. The music was done by Daniel Patucci. And the music, normally I say the music, even if it's a bad Giallo, I'll say the music is one of the better elements. Here, the music is actually one of the worst elements. Everything about this movie is like both the plot and especially the score. It's like there's 3 separate ideas going on at once. Like there's 3 movies worth of ideas, there's 3 movies worth of scores going on, and they're all piled on top of each other. The score sounded like a complete mess. It sounded like noise. Especially in the beginning. Because the beginning, you have this really, like, just a guitar plugged in with the distortion button on, trying to play some sort of goblin type score. But then you get like 2 or 3 other different instruments playing something else, it sounds like. Just sounds like noise. And the twist, the whole revelation at the end reminded me of, and this isn't a spoiler, Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, in the sense that we get the twist, then we get another twist, but then that twist has its own twist. But it's, I just don't know what to make of it. I will say the third act is the best part of this movie. All the parts I did like are more so in the third act, like when everything starts coming together. And there were some scenes where tension and suspense were well constructed. I did notice that this is more of a set piece film than it is technical or visual flair. So there's that. This also does have a lot more humor in it than some of the other Gialli I've seen. But yeah, I'm just not really the biggest fan of this one. I'm hoping this will be a shorter review because I really don't know what to say about it. But the story is, it opens up with a rich guy getting strangled by, I think it's a transvestite prostitute, and this woman on a bus being bludgeoned with a giant wrench. Two seemingly unrelated murders that at the scene of the crime, there's these children's illustrations from a German fable implying that it's one killer, and the inspector, uh, Gaspar Lomenzo, played by Michel Placido, he's the one that takes the case, and he finds out that both people were part of this club, which was what do they call them, the wildlife friends or the fauna lovers, which is basically an Eyes Wide Shut type of club, only instead of this big extravagant cult, like ceremonious or ritualistic cult, it's more like just a group of perverts, rich perverts. Uh, they were part of this club where a young girl was just found dead, seemingly from a heart attack at this one party over the weekend. This outrageous sex party, 'cause that's what they do. And so the inspector ends up meeting one of the young patrons of this party, the one played by Clary, whose name is spelt Jean, but it's pronounced Jean. She's actually a French character. And so she's able to kind of fill him in on some of the details. A lot of this movie's played in flashback, which I thought was all right. But sometimes the flashbacks, it's like I'm pretty sure it was narrated by the inspector, so I don't know if the flashbacks are like told after the fact, or if it's just everything he's put together so far. I don't remember why she doesn't just come out and say what really happened, but they start dating, and the worst kind of movies to review are ones that are forgettable and ones that are convoluted. And when you get a forgettable, convoluted movie, it's really not fun to talk about. Especially when there's no, normally have like a Wikipedia open with the synopsis to kind of help jog my memory, but there isn't one. But anyway, so more of these people are killed off uh, of this sex party club. And I mean, parts of it also kind of reminded me of like Sallow. Because like there's this one game they play where the girl that had the heart attack, there's this dinner table with the cloth, all the guys are sitting there, and based on like their facial expressions, this elderly horny lady has to guess which one of them is getting blown under the table by this girl. That's one of the things they do. And then once that round is over, she like gleefully wants to be the next one. And so it just kind of reminds me of the four guys in Sallow who gleefully want to be in the next act of debauchery. And this club is all the wealthy, powerful people, like, the politician, or there is some sort of socio-political post-Watergate kind of stuff going on in this. I didn't find it terribly interesting. At one point, and then they think that the killers that the killer is very versatile and there's no way there can be more than one because of all the different deaths. Like the owner of the house, whose last name is Hoffman, played by John Steiner, who looks like a mix of John Cleese and Peter Cushing. Also looks like the bad guy from Up. He agrees to be interviewed, but only on live TV, which someone comes out and shoots him. Or the killer comes out. This movie's so forgettable. And then this other guy, this other member gets killed. I thought this was a decent shot, so I wish I could remember how it went. The killer like stole a bus. It was either driving in head-on traffic, and the guy went through his own windshield, or he ran the guy over and he went through the bus windshield. But in any case, and then eventually the surviving members of this club hire a PI named, it's actually a German name, what was it? Strufel something. Can't find it when I need it. It's probably not. Peter something. It's like Strufelwelt, or if I can actually find where I said it, because I don't even remember how to pronounce it. But anyway, they hire him, and he kind of gives information to our lead, which I thought it was well acted. I thought the lead did do a fine job. The audio wasn't that good, so I had to have the subtitles on. But what's really distracting is a lot of these Italian films, they put the like Italian script on there, like they're not translated the same way the audio is, so you get different subtitles versus, I mean, it's the same general thing they're saying, but it can be very distracting. It's like a rough translation, and it's basically just trying to figure out who the killer. Obviously it's someone from this party. For a while, one of the big red herrings is this guy who's missing, like, I think he's missing one finger, then, like, the rest are all knuckles or whatever. But it's the girl's pimp, the girl that died, it's her pimp. Also, they find out that Steiner and his elite, like, Steiner collects exotic animals. He smuggles exotic animals. He has a menagerie at his villa. After a while, I find out that he also smuggles diamonds. It's the same operation. But anyway, I'm just gonna get into spoilers. So, can I recommend this? No. If you have to see every Giallo, sure. But as a curiosity, or even just like as a mystery fan, this is one I think you can pass. Honestly, is it the worst Giallo I've seen? It might be. I mean, some of the other ones, like Seven Deaths to the Cat's Eye, was pretty bad. It's gonna be hard to beat that, but this, if any of them can do it, it'd be this. But yeah, this is one I would actually say, because it's way more convoluted than it needs to be. The music is kind of a mess. There's nothing super interesting shot-wise or, technical about it. I do like stories about these kind of secret organizations, Eyes Wide Shut, or for fellow Batman fans, like the Court of Owls. But this one didn't really seem all that powerful. Like, okay, wait, there's a politician. I think there's a judge. But other than that, yeah, it's not super interesting. But I'm going to get into spoilers. So So, spoilers, and you'll have to forgive me on this. I looked everywhere on Google for just like an explanation just to kind of help jog my memory. But, of course, there's nothing. No one really talks about this film. So, eventually you find out that, well, I did like how this scene was set up. We find out that the girl did not die of a heart attack, which the heart attack was supposedly induced by the rich guys, dragging her outside to the pet tiger, pretending to feed her to it, and she died of a heart attack. Come to find out, she stumbled across them while they were looking at their diamonds that were smuggled in at the hollow bars of the animal cages. And she died of alcohol poisoning. They just forced booze into her until she died of poisoning. We find out Hoffman was the one that did that to her. And Hoffman is still alive. The guy that got shot on TV. It was faked. And so the inspector and Corinne Clary are back on the Hoffman estate. They see he's still alive. The inspector tells him he could tell it was faked because the guy that shot him was a homeless tramp. But he noticed his shoes were very expensive, so we knew it had to have been some sort of setup. There's a bit of a fight. He's locked in one of his animal cages, and then the PI comes out. And the PI tries to convince him to kill himself. And I did think this scene did have some good tension. And a lot of it is with real big close-ups, and it is this escalating thing. It did remind me of the final scene with Clarice and Hannibal in Silence of the Lambs. With those crazy close-ups. Not nearly as good, but, at least there was tension there. He does get Hoffman to shoot himself. It seems like Hoffman's going to take the blame for all the murders. But I thought it was kind of suspicious. Like, why he was trying to get him to do that. And then this is where the movie lost me. Because the inspector knows the PI is the one that was behind everything. He got Hoffman to kill himself. His name is Peter. I'm going to have to find his last name now. It's on this page I have open. I just can't find where it was. It's a long article. It's going to piss me off now. Because it actually does have something to... But anyway. I guess another... Oh, here we go. Anyway. Peter Strupfel. I can't remember how it is. It's like STRUWW. Then I can't remember the rest of it. It's driving me nuts because I'm trying to find it. But... supposedly the children's book was written by Hoffman, I guess. I don't know if this is a real German fairy tale or like in real life if it is written by a Hoffman, or that's just in the context of the movie. Oh, yeah, STRUWWEL. So Peter Strupfel, I think is what it is. Which is the name of the book. And in this, if you have the subtitles on, it's called Shock-Headed Peter. Because it would have given it away too soon. But turns out that's what this guy's name is. The PI. But then, so he admits that he was behind all the murders. But then he shows the inspector the slideshow of everyone who killed, like, a different person killed one of the people we saw in this case. Each person was killed by someone different, and they were all people that hired him as a PI. And it's something to do with how anyone can become a murderer if the scenario and the money is right. I guess I think that was his motive. And then you find out the guy that put this plan together was this disgraced inspector named Del Rey, who we did see at some point in the film, or he was talked about. I don't really remember him. But yeah, he was one that kind of put together this plan with the PI. And then, the Del Rey guy is surrounded, and then he just gets sprayed with bullets, and then it's the end of the movie. Yeah, it's way more convoluted than it needs to be. I mean, I've seen some that are more complicated, but they're actually enjoyable, entertaining, and fun, so it's what sticks with you more. It does have some kind of funny moments, like when the Corinne Clary's character decides to stay with the lead inspector because they live in the same building. He just nonchalantly says, well, before I go to bed, I like to have sex. And she says, yeah, I do too. And, that's settled. He does throw a few racial epithets at his first girlfriend, who is African American. Yeah. And it's 102 minutes. It does kind of wear out its welcome, I think. I don't know. I just wasn't the biggest fan of this film. This is actually a Giallo I could say I did not like. Yeah. If it doesn't beat Seven Deaths in the Cat's Eye for the worst, it's certainly a top 3. I know some people see it as Italian Giallo, like a masterpiece. I think it's far from it. But some of my top 10 favorites, other people think are some of the worst. So, and yeah, I'm sure there's a lot that I missed, a lot that I didn't talk about, maybe a lot that I didn't notice, but it's because I wasn't really into this film that much. I don't know why. But that's all I have to say for... And it's weird considering how Paolo Cavera also did Black Belly of the Tarantula, which is one of the greatest Giallos. And in fact, the only two Gialli he did was this and Black Belly of the Tarantula. Mostly known for those and the Mondo Cane films, but so yeah, not a big fan of this at all. One of the worst Gialli I've seen, but yeah, definitely not one of my best reviews. I apologize for that, but not even an in-depth rant, really, but I wasn't sure what to make of this film. But anyway, stay tuned for more Italian horror and Giallo films, and thank you for watching.